So that was a lot to unpack, Sybil. I have an echo too.
I know.
Yeah, that was a lot to unpack, but it was great. There's a lot of food for thought here. I certainly appreciated you informing us about the eclipse being harbingers of change, because there is a lot of change. That's exactly what's taking place now, and the fact that we have 6 this year when ordinarily we have like 4. So that just makes you more aware that this is serious, and there's nothing that any group or faction can do to just stop it. This is up on a supernatural level or a spiritual level, cosmic level. And I love when you said that how things are becoming revealed, because I used to have an affirmation that I say frequently: reveal all which is concealed. Because I think for the most part, privacy, that whole concept is really an illusion, because spiritually there is no hiding place. God knows everything that we do. Everything really is public information. That's just a man-made concept, the idea of privacy. Anyway, I don't want to digress down that road. But you also spoke on, too, how we treat each other. Of course, that's the boomerang effect. Whatever we do to others will come back to us. That's the karmic effect. So yeah, I was just enjoying everything that you said. But I also wanted to touch on, too, when you started talking about the media and news programs, and the operative word is program. I don't know if most people know, but 90% of American media is owned by 6 corporations. So, yes, there is a propaganda machine. 6 corporations, delivers the message to, 300 million, 350 million people? Mm-hmm. So propaganda, programming, you have to be cognizant of that. And last week when we talked again, I had mentioned that death, in my opinion, is an illusion. It's just the end of a cycle. So that energy starts recycling. Death is the recycling process, because energy can neither be created nor destroyed. So, part of that is, this is just what we're going through. It's a natural course of action, so to speak. Not necessarily this is what God intended, but it's a restoration of harmony. And restoration of harmony is a natural flow of energy. So, and then I think that was it. Okay.
Is my
Jennie?
echo gone?
Yes, ma'am.
I wanted to tell everyone I did a little Googling when Sybil was talking about approximately how many police officers are ex-military. She was right. Good knowledge there, good remembering. 20% of our cops are ex-military. And I think there is an issue in that. And I don't know everything about the military, but I watched Full Metal Jacket. I'm pretty sure that's a little hyped up during the Vietnam War, and it might not be like that. But I know that they use psychological techniques to break down the psyche so you become a warrior and a soldier, and that you will kill if need be. So the natural psyche, I've heard, doesn't necessarily want to kill unless it's being directly come at or offended or attacked. And the military use psychological techniques to break that down so that they can kill without as much guilt, I guess. I'm sure there's other reasons they do that. But I think that there's a problem with taking those people who have been trained in that way and setting them inside of a public service job, like being a police officer. I'm not a psychologist, and I'm not even a professional, and I don't even play it on television. But what I do know is that those two are totally different things. And what we're seeing with the anger and the killing and the racism and so on and so forth coming from the police is definitely a sickness and an illness that needs to be addressed, just like the pedophilia thing in the Catholic Church and Hollywood and all these places. There are seeds of ugliness that need to be brought to the surface so that we can shine a light on them and heal them and dissolve them, change them into like Sonya said, you can't destroy that energy. Let's just alchemize that yucky energy into lighter energy, heart, acceptance. Easier said than done. You ladies and everyone listening, we're going to run to a commercial. We'll be back in 1 minute.
You are listening to Heart Over Ego Radio, a network of shows offering healing and guidance for your beautiful journey. Tune in on Mondays for the Alchemy Sisters, 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 Eastern. Tuesdays, tune in and tune up. Body Awareness and Self-Care, 11 Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern. Wednesdays, One for All is Love, 1:30 Pacific, 4:30 p.m. Eastern. Thursdays, Unbound with Cynthia Martin, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 Eastern. Fridays, The Witching Hour with Greenwich Village and the Alchemy Sisters, 11 Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern. And on Fridays, Rain Radio, 10 Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. Saturdays, Creating Heaven on Earth, 11 Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern. And Sundays, Everyday Psychic Radio at noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern. This is the Heart Over Ego Radio Network.
Welcome back, everybody. And I just want to clarify, I think we got our commercials mixed up. That's the right one, except this is Third Eye Political Radio. We have a sister station called Heart Over Ego Radio. Go to any major podcast app, search Heart Over Ego Radio and Third Eye Political Radio, and you will see a plethora of shows that will intrigue you and entice you. And we are Political Star Talk. We are here every other Wednesday. You have myself, Jennie McDaniel, the lovely Sibyl Starr, and Sonya Spirit. So let's get back into our conversations, ladies. We were just discussing many things, and I often, even being on the show with Sibyl, will go back and listen to our show several times to get all the information, because it is a lot, and I appreciate you, Sibyl. I like being overwhelmed with information, so thank you for bringing all that knowledge to the table. And I don't know if I didn't hear, but when is the lunar eclipse?
What
date is that falling?
Good. That's good to know, isn't it? Okay, so it is Friday, June 5th at 12:13 p.m. Pacific time, and it is at 15 degrees of Sagittarius. And so on a personal level, if this falls within 3 degrees of any planets that you may have in any of the what we call mutable signs, which would be Sagittarius, Gemini, Pisces, and Virgo, it's going to be pretty impactful. Okay, it's a big one.
Good to know. And then what was going on the 21st? It was the...
So the 21st is the solar eclipse. Okay, so this is a lunar. So this cycle we have 2 lunar eclipses and 1 solar eclipse. Normally we just have one of each. Okay, so what did we have? We had a lunar eclipse in January, and then we have 3 this summer. Then we have 2 more eclipses in November and December. That's where the 6 come from. Normally we would just have let's just say 2 in the summer and 2 in the winter. Okay, so that is the normal, but sometimes it does fall differently.
Good to know.
Yeah. So I guess, Jennie, what I wanted to, or Sonya and Jennie, something that you said, Jennie, just really kind of like just opened up something in me. And, we've been seeing, let's just say and I think this is opening up a whole can of worms. Okay. What is going on with the protest and the police and the military, because some of them have just simply been outfitted by the Department of Defense when they had too much military equipment, and they just passed them on to the police, so the police are militarized. And because it's a whole economic, they're all so tied together, the economy, the military, the government, and the militarization of our police departments, and that is something that big discussions are happening now, even in Congress, about recognizing the police using military-style weapons on their own citizens and the potential for that, and they're trying to pass some legislation to block that. And so I feel like this is a whole other can of worms that is opening around that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Sonia?
Well, yeah, I know I had heard Governor Cuomo for the state of New York. He was talking about outlawing certain practices, like the whole anything that has to do with cutting off the air supply to the neck, like no more kneeling or chokeholds, things of that nature. So I know that, and that's a good thing. So that's the direction that we do need to move in. I certainly agree with that. And of course, we're still running into like some of the challenges with the so-called president and how he wants to, send out the military. And I'm glad that there's some pushback. So finally, I'm gonna be honest, I'm finally excited to see, or I don't want to say excited, but pleased to see that people are beginning to stand up. Okay, and I know it has a lot to do with the cosmic energy because, as I had stated prior to the show, there is no new occurrence. Okay, as far as I know, George Floyd kicked off this event, but George Floyd is not a unique case. Okay, he's not the first one who's been choked to death by the police. 5 years ago was the same case with Eric Garner up in New York. I can't breathe, the exact same words. And it was several police. The only difference was these were plainclothes cops. Okay. So, but I'm glad to see that we are, we're beginning to move in the right direction, and that is spiritual energy. And people need to recognize that there is no separation. Okay, there is no separation from the economy, like you said, the government, the military, and your personal spirituality. Okay, it's so important that we know who we are. And because then we'll learn how to treat other people. I know Sibyl had mentioned earlier about the ladies in Louisville, and Louisville is an interesting case because, yes, that is a great example of how to use white privilege, but at the same time, there were also a band of black men who banded together to protect a white police officer who had became isolated from the rest of the police officers. And there's an article on that. And they are surrounding him so the rest of the group, or if there are any that are violent, they won't attack him. So that's love. Like Sibyl said earlier, that is love. And there is no black privilege to this situation. That's just humanity. At some point in time, people have to recognize they're not fighting to be fighting. They're fighting for rights just to be equal. And they don't want to hurt anyone. Like Sibyl was saying earlier, that's just anger. That's just frustration. That's people reacting and not necessarily responding. So people just got to hold tight. They got to, like you said, get together in numbers, be strong spiritually, pray, because everyone has a role. You may not want to go out and protest. That may not be your stilo, but you can spiritually pray for those that are out there, because all of us need it. The victim, the hero, and the villain. As it says in the Bible, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. All right, Jennie, I'm going to pass it on to you.
It's great. I love the movements. I'm a big fan of the 1960s and the revolutionary movement. And I've spent a good majority of my teenage years and 20s studying the revolution and how we can prolong that and bring that to fruition, bring that reality to life, heart energy, acceptance. So I appreciate the uprise with the protests. Now, I just want to spend a few minutes here talking about the riots. There's a lot of speculation, and I think I even heard it on the news even, that there are some white supremacists starting trouble and kind of hiding behind a shield of, what is that, Antifa or something like that. Mm-hmm. I've only read it. I've never even really heard it said out loud. But I do see that there are some violent contributors there, but on the big majority, it appears to be peaceful protesting. So I think it's important, and I've heard people talking about this, and I'll just reiterate, to separate the troublemakers from the ones who want to express themselves. And I really love that Europe is joining in, and I have always respected Europe for taking to the streets when they didn't like any little thing, and I appreciated that they band together like that. And just the other day at my breakfast table, I was like, I wonder if Europe's proud of us. We're taking to the streets here, just like them. And here they are backing us up. So I appreciate the support from everyone. The world seems to be listening. And this is a grand stage. And I think the majority of us are being very heartful and just holding space and wanting our voice to be heard about something that should have been heard a long time ago. I'm going to hand it back over to Sibyl.
Okay. So what I wanted to say was sometimes to understand an aspect, you go back in